Hello, welcome to my podcast. Whether you're walking to work, having a cup of coffee, or just seeking positive vibes, join me as I share timeless wisdom and practical tools to elevate the quality of your life. Let's dive in. To love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance. That's a quote by Oscar Wilde. In this episode, I'm going to share with you how to love yourself. I thought this would be the perfect time to talk about how to love ourselves. And it's perfect because I feel it's time I share what I've learned. That you can't look for someone to give you your value. And also because it's a time where I began a journey of loving myself. Now, some of you may hear that and think, well, that sounds very interesting and weird. Why didn't she love herself? And let me just tell you why. I am human. And basically, my self-esteem will be shut down once in a while. But the beauty of it is being present to notice how I'm feeling. And working to be the kind of woman who loves herself. I do remember the times in my life where I was my own worst enemy. And where I wasn't in love with myself. And I appreciate that phase. But what I know is that I'm so proud of myself. Because now I'm at a point where I'm beginning to do the work. I know if there's a relationship that is most important to cultivate, it's the one with yourself. Because we have to be with ourselves for the rest of our lives. And so, if it means embracing a new practice of sitting with yourself once a week and paying attention to what's been going on in your life, then do it. Life presents us with many challenges and you're always going to have ups and downs. And that's the way life is designed. Life is about the contrast. If you don't know what sadness is, how can you ever appreciate joy? If you don't know what worry and anxiety is, how can you ever appreciate peace? So let me tell you what I've discovered in terms of what it takes to love yourself. The first thing is you have to listen to your desires. I want you to think about it like this. Imagine being with a partner who did not care what you wanted, who just ignored what you wanted, who just didn't even ask you what you wanted. It wouldn't be a lot of fun, right? Some of you are in these relationships or you may have found yourself in relationships like this. So you know how painful that is. But what I want to ask you to ask yourself is, are you doing that to yourself? Are you ignoring your desires? Do you even ask yourself what you want? I think that's why a lot of us just feel so numb. And I want to ask you to wake up. I want you to ask yourself every day, what do you want? Where am I going? What does your future look like? Who do you want to be? What do you want to enjoy more of? Who do you want to be with? And then you have to take action towards those desires. So if you want to feel alive again, if you want to have so much love towards yourself, you're going to have to recognize what your true desires are. You can't just push them down and expect for life to be full. That's not the way it works. You've got to be brave enough to ask yourself the tough questions. One of them being, what do I really want? And stop lying to yourself. A lot of us are lying to ourselves. We are saying we don't know what we want. We are telling ourselves what we want is not possible, which is a lie. And so, what you do is you just ignore your desires. The second thing is make yourself proud every single day. Can you imagine being with someone who just constantly is disappointing you? He doesn't keep his word, or she doesn't keep her word with you. It wouldn't be a fun relationship, right? And yet, that is what we often do to ourselves day after day. And we wonder why we don't feel good. We wonder why we don't think highly of ourselves. It's because we're the ones neglecting ourselves. Self-esteem, self-worth, and confidence are something you have to constantly build until you get the place where those things can no longer be taken from you. But these things are only gained by a series of tiny victories that once accumulated, they start making you feel better about yourself. You can't wait for the world to drop these opportunities in your lap. You have to go and create those victories for yourself. What I'm talking about here are good choices that you make to feel good about yourself. Every morning when you wash your face, see it as a victory. When you brush your teeth, victory. Can you see you've only been awake for, let's say, 10 minutes and are already winning? When you exercise, see it as victory. When you take a walk that you had scheduled for, boom, victory. When you come to terms with some things within yourself that you didn't realize was such a big deal in holding you back, and you make some big or small strides in confronting them, recognizing them, and then doing something about them, boom, more victory. And in the moment, it will be so hard. I can tell you how hard it is because I've been there. You will want to revert back to your old patterns. You will want to revert back to what's comfortable. But consistency is the secret. Your unwillingness to compromise will be your greatest asset, because that is what tells you and the world that you care about yourself. It's not fun to be in a relationship with someone you don't feel like has your back. And yet, I want you to ask yourself, do you have your own back? Do you make yourself proud? Do you keep your word to yourself? The next thing that will help you love yourself is to speak lovingly to yourself. Now, this is a big one for many of us, and some of you may not even realize how you speak to yourselves because it's so familiar. You've been doing it, or you may have been doing it for years. But just imagine being with someone who tells you you're not good enough. This will tell you that you don't deserve things, that you're not worthy. Many of you are thinking that about yourselves. You're saying that to yourselves. And I want you to remember, whatever you seek is seeking you. So if you're seeking for all the things that are wrong with you, then your brain will deliver a lot of those things to consider. But equally, if you start looking for what's right about you, what's beautiful about you, what's amazing about you, you will find that too. Now, in the beginning, it's going to take more effort, only because it's a new practice. I just want you to understand, if you've been in the habit of thinking harshly about yourself, it's going to take some effort and some attention to establish this new practice. But what I can tell you is that it will get better with time. Now, every once in a while, you will have a thought pop up that tells you you are a loser, you're not good enough. I want you to recognize these thoughts, but choose not to entertain them. And then immediately go to what's amazing about me, what's right about me, what's good about me. And with time of practicing this, you will realize that you don't give your harsh negative thoughts the airtime that you used to give it. And when you begin to speak lovingly towards yourself, you start to feel love towards yourself. That's how it works. Be ready to start saying aloud, even in your house, I'm proud of myself today for preparing dinner for my family. Or I love me. I really do. I'm so proud of me. I'm so proud of what I've done. I'm so proud of all the hard days that I put in, the hard nights I put in to get where I am today. Because the more love you have within yourself, guess what happens? The more love you have to give the world, the more love you'll have to give your family and your friends and your community, to your business or your job. Because when you do love yourself madly, you can love others madly. You have more compassion. You have more empathy. You just have more love to give. The next thing that will help you love yourself is treating yourself well. When you love someone, you want to treat them well, right? Imagine being with someone who doesn't treat you well, who ignores you, who even maybe forgets to wish you happy birthday, who doesn't take you on dates, who doesn't buy you flowers, who doesn't do all the lovely or the loving things for you. That's not a good relationship. But here's the question. How are you treating yourself? Are you treating yourself well? Do you take yourself on walks? Do you take yourself out on dates? Just you. Do you eat good quality foods? Do you just love yourself? Now, a lot of you think that you don't love yourselves, and you have a lot of evidence to prove it. And so you want to love yourself, to treat yourself well. But I want you to treat yourself well to prove to yourself that you're a woman or a man who loves herself or himself. If you think about it, the people you love the most and how much effort you put into those relationships, you're going to see that love requires effort. And so I want every woman, and even if you're a man listening to this, I want every man to love themselves. I just feel like it makes us such better humans. It doesn't take from the world. If anything, it adds so much love and joy to the world. I know my work right now in the world is to stay in my own state of love. And when I get thrown out of it, because I probably will, because I'm human, I just want to come right back into it, because that is the journey. The journey is to notice when you're out of love with yourself, so that you can get back in love with yourself. Have a great weekend and decide to love yourself and know that you are worthy. Sending you lots of love and light your way. Cheers.